Hi guys, today we're talking about CCM 6, word problems with percents. You might want to have a calculator handy for this lesson. A percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. Some things to remember is how we set up a proportion. We use keywords like is and of. So we put is over of, we set that equal to the percent over 100. For word problems, you might want to think about it in a part to whole ratio. So part over whole equals percent over 100. That might make the word problem make more sense when you're setting it up. We can also set up equations, and I'll show you how to do both in this lesson. Steps for solving word problems. First of all, always circle your key words. Your key words are your is, of, percent, etc. Number 2, set up an equation or a proportion. Step 3, solve. Make sure you're answering the question that's being asked, and always don't forget your units. When you're dealing with word problems, you always want to put your units in your answer. So here we go. Question number 1. Michelle has gone for a walk. She has walked 6 miles so far. This is 30% of the total distance. What is the total number of miles she will walk? So she's already gone 6 miles. That's important. This is. So my question is, what is? What is this that they're talking about? They're talking about the miles she's already walked. So this 6 is the is number when you set up a proportion. This is 30% of the total distance. Well, we're looking for the total distance. That's going to be our x. So I'm going to set this up 2 ways. First, I'm going to start with the proportion. Is over of, so 6 over x equals percent over 100. That's how I would set up my proportion. If you were to set up an equation, use those keywords like is and of and translate those into math symbols. The word is stands for an equal sign. The word of represents times. Remember, if you have a percentage, you want to change that into its decimal form. So if I were to write an equation, I would write 6 is, because we already determined that the word this represents the 6 miles she's already gone. Is means equals 30% of the total distance. So this would be my equation setup. All right, let's go through and solve. I'm going to multiply in my proportion. I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 600 equals 30x. Divide both sides by 30 because you want to use inverse operations when you have an equation. And your final answer, x equals 20. Let's see if we get that same answer when we multiply over here or divide. So we have an equation, and again I want to use inverse operations to solve for x. So I divide both sides by my decimal. And this is where you're going to want to have your calculator handy. 6 divided by 3/10 is 20. So using both methods, I get to the same answer. So however your brain likes to work and see these problems, you'll either pick a proportion or an equation. Sometimes I mix and match because sometimes the equation is more straightforward than the proportion. So it all depends on the problem. The last step is to write our units. So it says, what's the total number of miles she will walk? And the answer is 20 miles. Okay? Number 2, Hector placed an order with a bakery for pastries. The baker has completed 37.5% of the order after baking 81 pastries. How many pastries did he order? So, of course, I've got my percentage. The baker has completed 37.5 of the order after baking 81 pastries. So I'm going to set up a proportion for this one. I can use is over of equals percent over 100. I know my percent is 37.5. That's almost the easiest part in each problem. And then now I have to figure out my is and my of. So I've got 81 pastries of the order. So I have to think about what's the part and what's the whole. My 81 pastries is part of the whole shebang. He's only baked 81 pastries out of the total he's supposed to bake. So I know that 81 goes on top and my unknown goes underneath. Now that I have it set up, I'm just going to cross multiply and solve. 8100 equals 37.5 x divide by 37.5, and you'll find out that the answer is 216 pastries. Don't forget those units. If you feel comfortable with these problems, you might want to press pause and complete the next 2 problems on your paper by yourself. And then you can press play and I'll walk you through those problems. If not, just follow along with the video. We've got 2 more to go. Number 3. The frozen yogurt stand in the mall sells 420 yogurt cups per day. 75% of the cups are sold to middle schoolers. How many yogurt cups are sold to the middle schoolers each day? So we've got the 420 yogurt cups every day. That seems like it's the total because it's all they sell in one day. So that's the whole. 45% of the cups are sold to middle schoolers. That's what I want to know. I want to know the part out of the whole thing. I know that's set equal to 45 over 100. Now here's another thing. I said that sometimes equations are more straightforward to use than proportions. Let's try to write an equation for this one. So if I've got 420 yogurt cups and 45% of the cups are sold to middle schoolers, I'm just going to multiply 420 times my percent written as a decimal, and that's going to give me my part. I want to know what 45% of 420 equals. Remember, of means times, so I want to know what 45% of 420 equals. So in this case, the equation is more straightforward. All you have to do here is pick up your calculator and multiply it together and you get your answer. When you have a proportion, we can still solve using cross multiplication, but that would take a little bit longer. It's got more steps on this one. So once you choose your method, proportion or equation, you multiply it out, you'll get the answer of 189 cups. All right, number 4. The 7th grade students are going on a field trip. As of today, 85% of the 280 students have turned in their permission slips. How many students have turned in their permission slips? Well, this one seems similar to the last one. I can set up an equation because I know that this 280 is the total number of students. That's the whole. I want to know how many students out of 280 turn in their permission slips. I want to know the part. I set that equal to 85 over 100. Cross multiply. I get 100x equals 23,800. divide both sides by 100, X equals 238 students. Not so shabby. I could set up an equation for this one also, similar to the last problem. I knew the whole, I knew the percentage, so if I multiply the percentage times the whole, that would give me my answer. All right, let's see if you can do some of these on your own. We've got 4 more problems that you're going to try by yourself. Push pause, work out the problems on your worksheet. When you're done, push play, and I'll show you all of the work for the problems here. If you don't have the worksheet, when I reveal the questions, just jot them down and work them out, okay? Question 1, the Smith family spent 28% of their monthly income on housing. If the family's monthly income is $3,200, how much money did they spend for housing? So I'm going to say that this is my percentage. This is what of their monthly income. Their monthly income is this much. So the of is really $3,200. So they 28% of means times this number. I'm just going to multiply my percent in decimal form of 3,200. That's going to be how much they spent for housing. When you multiply all this together, you'll see that they spent $896 on housing. Question 2. George saved 35% of the money he earned. If he earned $260, how much did he save? Well, he saved 35% of means times the money he earned. Well, it's telling me he earned $260. Well, that's this amount right here. So basically you're asking yourself, what is 35% of 260? That's how much he's going to save. He's going to save less than he earned. So you know your answer is going to be smaller than 260. When you multiply it out, you get $91. So these problems are actually set up the same way. Let's try the next 2. Remember, if you don't already have this written down, push pause, take a second, write it down. When you're ready, push play, and I'll do these on the board for you. Number 3, Brenda earned $120 per week working at her part-time job. This is only 78% of what she earned. What's the full amount of Brenda's check? I'm going to set up her proportion here. Is $120. That is 78% of what she earned. We want to know what she earned. We want to know that full amount. Okay? So I've got this set up. I'm going to cross multiply. Here's where I'd use my calculator. To find out X equals $153.85. Whenever you're dealing with money and your number goes past the hundredths place, which is the cents in money, we're rounding to the nearest cent, which is the hundredths place. Number 4, Jerry took a test with a total of 50 questions. His teacher told him that he must answer 90% of the questions correctly to get an A. How many questions is this? So there's a total of 50 questions. That's your whole. We want to know what part of the whole thing will give him a 90. Cross multiply. 4,500 equals 100x. Divide both sides by 100. He needs to answer 45 questions correctly. All right, I hope you did well. These questions weren't easy, so I'm glad that you took the time to watch this video and prepare yourself for word problems with percents.